think I'm doing this one. Yes. So here are current and past puppy raisers. We have Alex, who has Zinger, and then we have Rebecca, who just got Augie, and then Danielle, who has AJ. Oops. And then Riley, he just graduated, although he's still in the area. He is raising Zeus, who is Zinger's brother. And then we have Estrella, who was raised by Nicole. She is going to GW for her master's. Estrella is currently in professional training, and she's going to be in team training, which means she'll be matched with someone, hopefully in the upcoming months. So we're excited to see where Estrella goes. Again, CCI is a nonprofit organization that breeds, raises, and trains service dogs for people with disabilities free of charge. So that is the huge thing with CCI, is that the recipients of these dogs do not have to pay anything to receive them. They come fully trained by us puppy raisers, and then they go to advanced training with professionals in different parts of the world, or different parts of the United States. So ours would be New York at NER.
That's awkward. So a huge part of what we do besides puppy raising is educating, and our goal is to educate the campus and the surrounding area about service dogs and just be an advocate for both our puppy raisers and people with disabilities. So I know a lot of people, when they come to campus, they see the little puppies, they say, "Oh my gosh, so cute, puppy, come here." But we just want to we want people to understand that even though it is a cute little puppy, it is working and it is training. And I'm sure our puppy raisers have a lot to say about that. And there are a lot of ways to get involved without raising a puppy. I know I've done a lot of planning for our events and a lot of fundraising, which helps support our puppy raisers. And we'll usually have a table at our events where people will just come up and ask questions about our club and about the puppies in general.
So we have a cute little video for you to kind of explain CCI further on. But going off of that last slide, we are going to be asking you guys as club members coming up in the next couple of meetings ideas about fundraising for our puppy raisers. We really want y'all to be involved in that and to creating our events that we're going to have hopefully on campus, because we're going back. I don't know if you all have heard. So hopefully we'll be able to do some tabling events, socially distant and safe, of course. And we want you guys to be involved in the planning of that and the planning of different events if we wanted to have some this semester. So yes, that will be coming up soon. We'll promise we'll get you all's input on that. So on with our cute little video.
Canine Companions for Independence is a nonprofit that provides highly trained assistance dogs free of charge to people with disabilities. At their national headquarters in Santa Rosa, California, the work starts before puppies are even born. They work hard to meticulously select and pair dogs for breeding. Litters are then raised in homes with volunteers. At the same time, a request for an application is submitted online. As the applicant's paperwork is being filled out and sent, the quickly growing 8-week-old pups are placed with volunteer puppy raisers where they will be cared for and learn basic socialization and obedience skills. Before applicants are accepted to receive a dog, they go through a multi-step interview process, including a phone interview, medical paperwork, and an in-person interview. Accepted applicants are put on a wait list until they are invited to a team training class to be matched with an assistance dog. When the dogs are fully grown, they leave their puppy raisers and return to Canine Companions to work with skilled professional trainers to learn advanced commands and tasks. Then comes the day when the person and dog meet for the first time. Here at Team Training, the newly matched team learn to work together, and training continues until they graduate as new partners. Canine Companions will continue to follow up with the pair for the lifetime of the placement, serving as a support system for the team. Canine Companions Companions for Independence has been providing assistance dogs to people with disabilities free of charge since 1975.
So as you can see, CCI is a huge nationwide thing. We're just a little part of it on campus, helping to advocate their mission to everyone on campus and in the Fredericksburg area. So here you're going to learn about the types of service dogs that you saw in that video.
Yeah, so there are 4 main types of service dogs that CCI trains. Now, this doesn't mean that they're the only service dogs that are available. These are just the ones that CCI specializes in. So the first is a skilled companion, and they are trained to work with an adult or child with a disability under the guidance of a facilitator, who is typically a parent, spouse, or caregiver who handles and cares for the assistance dog, and they encourage a strong bond between the person who has it and the skilled companion dog. And then a facility dog, they're partnered with a facilitator to work in healthcare, visitation, or education setting. And they are trustworthy in professional environments and can perform over 40 commands to motivate and inspire clients with special needs. A service dog, they are partnered with adults with physical disabilities to assist in daily tasks and to increase independence by reducing reliance on other people. They can pull their partner in a manual wheelchair, push buttons for elevators or automatic doors, and even assist in business transactions. CCI also provides assistance dogs for veterans, and those dogs can really help with much needed physical assistance. And just having the loyalty of a dog can really have a lasting impact on somebody dealing with difficult emotions that can be hard to communicate. And then hearing dogs, they alert partners to key sounds by making physical contact by nudging a leg or arm. And they are trained to recognize and respond to the sound of doorbells, alarm clocks, or even somebody calling a name.
So as you just learned about all the different types of service dogs that CCI provides, of course, that is not limited to all the other service dogs that there is. It's just what CCI does provide. We have graduate dogs that have been raised on campus at UMW, have done everything in UMW, like swimming in the fountain and stuff like that, and now they have real working dog jobs. So we have Naya, who is a facility dog. She works with children who have been abused and families in that kind of area. She's with Kim. She is the service dog that I raise, and luckily she's only 2 hours away, so I get to see her. And then we have Nelson, who is Naya's brother. He is a skilled companion for this young man right here. And they both just recently got placed with their handlers. And then we have Farah, who is a service dog. Farah was actually the first CCI dog that UMW has ever raised, saw. So that's really cool to see that come full circle. I'm pretty sure this young man just graduated from Virginia Tech, from what she told me. I have no updates on where they are now. And then we have Jax, who was, I think, the third CCI dog that UMW has had, and he is a facility dog at the Department of Social Services with this lady. So as you can see, we have a variation of where our dogs go. Just because they're raised on a college campus doesn't mean they have a set track to go to a certain type of service dog. They can go anywhere.
And then, of course, we have probably the most known part of our club, which is puppy raising. But puppy raising is not in any way a requirement of being a part of our club. Honestly, nor is it really super encouraged, because yes, we always want puppy raisers, but it's a huge time-consuming thing. And so part of what I talk about is, the interview process and just how difficult it can be to be a puppy raiser, but how rewarding it is. So if you decide right now that you would want to become a puppy raiser, you would pretty much spend about the next year in interview processes with us and both CCI. That would look like first an application with us and an interview, and then we would say, okay, like we approve of you to raise on campus, and then you would go and apply for CCI, who would then have a phone interview with you, and then you would sit on a wait list and wait for a puppy to be born. The time commitment is generally about 18 months. It depends on just timing throughout the year and when they have the kennel space back up at NER in New York. During the year and a half that you have puppies, you'll socialize them, you'll potty train them, you'll kennel train them, you'll wake up at 3 a.m. to them having diarrhea in their kennel. It's wonderful. But during that time, you also teach them over 30 commands. You go to puppy classes twice a month. We go as a group down in Richmond. Of course, it's a little different right now because of COVID. They're mostly online. And then, of course, we also do things with like body handling, making sure they're good with all their grooming, nail clipping every few days, ear cleaning, brushing their hair, brushing their teeth, things like that. Part of the ADA is actually that service dogs look put together, I guess, in public, and that they don't smell and that they just look clean. So you'll have the interview with us if you decide to do that, and if you are approved, you'll apply online through CCI and have an interview with a professional from them. And then going into your sophomore year, that summer before your sophomore year, if you're a freshman, you don't have to be a freshman to puppy raise, that's when you get your puppy, and you would spend the summer, kind of getting them ready to live in a dorm. If you still live on campus, we have a wonderful partnership with UMW that we get to have our dogs in the res halls, and then we also get to bring them to class with us, which is really nice, great socialization for us. They honestly just sleep through most classes, but to them it's still work and they're still learning even while they're sleeping. But it's a really great experience for anyone looking to enhance the lives of others and give back to the community. I think Simone wrote that, and it's a great way to kind of sum it up. It's really time consuming, it's a lot of work, and some days it is so frustrating. It's just kind of like you want to give the dog back some days, or like hand them off to somebody and just be like, hey, take it for a day. But in the end, I think, and I can't speak to this fully because Zinger is my first dog, but I know Simone has her own experience. Simone has a wonderful, honestly, the perfect relationship with a graduate that you can have, that you aim for. Being able to see what Naya does every day and work and how she impacts the lives of others. That's the reason that we do this. And it's so amazing to be able to see everything that these dogs are capable of after they finish that professional training and after they've spent a year and a half with us. And it's just really great. If you're still interested in puppy raising or not, but you definitely want to be a part of the club, we do have our official puppy raising meetings on September 18th and 25th, which are both Tuesdays at 6, just like this one. We'll have meetings every week on Tuesday. But yeah, puppy raising's great, but you don't have to do it.
Yes, Alex, I think that was puppy raising in a nutshell. I do have a wonderful relationship with Naya's handler. That is not always the case, and you do have to go into puppy raising knowing that you might never see your dog again. And that is terrifying. That is horrible. I have been through it. Alex and Riley are about to go through that right now. So just kind of go with that, with the mindset. Don't base your experience off of anybody else's experience, because you're going to have your own path through puppy raising. And you do have to give them up. So that is also a huge thing. It sucks, but it's worth it, I promise. So that's all we have for you today. But kind of as like an interactive little thing, I wanted to ask, you can just unmute yourself. Has anybody had any interactions with service dogs lately, or have you heard about service dogs, know about service dogs, want to share your experience? You're welcome to unmute yourself if you would like to share.
Well, my pit bull, I was doing classes with him, and he was going to get trained to like do all of the commands that a service dog would need to know how to do. He wasn't going to be one, but we wanted to like do that because we thought it would be good for him to know all that stuff. So I definitely liked seeing this club with training dogs, because I trained my puppy. He's a little over a year old. And like you were saying, like the diarrhea in the crate at 3 a.m, it's something we definitely did with him.
That's awesome. Definitely training your dog to know commands, definitely just at the home, for being basic obedience like that is awesome. Going out in public like that, that's another conversation that we're gonna have. We're gonna have a whole ADA kind of meeting day for that, but that's awesome that you're taking initiative to go and train your dog like that. Anybody else?
Hi. I actually have a service dog. His name's Tucker. I'll show him. And I just love that this club is like about just like raising awareness on like service dogs and stuff like that. And I think like when I was looking at schools to transfer to, like when they told me that you guys had the CCI training program, I was like, perfect, that's the school I want to go to. So yeah.
He is the cutest thing ever. I can't get over that. I can't wait to see you guys on campus. If you are going back on campus, we'd love to do a collaboration and have different types of service dogs, just besides ours. Has anybody seen any service dogs in stores? I say service dogs with quotation marks around it sometimes because there's behaviors that may or may not lead to that, but just a question.
Yeah, I've definitely seen them around. My my therapist was training her dog, and the day she was about to bring him in for the first time is the day that like COVID made everything canceled. It was very disappointing, but that's okay.
We have one at my church that is there for like the kids and stuff like that.
Has anybody seen any CCI dogs out and about? I know there's a couple in Virginia, but it's rewarding when you do see them and you're like, what the heck? You're like, I'm in that club. Hey, and you see it out in public. It's very rewarding.
I didn't see a CCI dog around the other day, but when I went to the farmer's market, I ran into an older woman. She was like in her 50s, and her best friend in college actually were college raisers for CCI when she was, I forget where she went. It wasn't a Virginia school, but she was talking about it. She was like, yeah, that's so cool. I did the same thing. I was like, really? 40 years ago? That's pretty cool. Just thought I'd share.
That's also the thing you'll get is when t-shirts get in, stuff get in, you'll start wearing this apparel. And you're representing us as a club, of course, but you're also representing CCI. And people know what CCI is, so they'll ask you questions and you may or may not know the answer, but that's perfectly fine. But people, they do know what CCI is, and it's really rewarding to see them out there and to know what they're doing. As you can see, if you want to look at LJ right now, I think that's the best view anybody could ever have right now.
I just love how Augie has just disappeared into his bed. He's just flat.
If anybody had any last thoughts about anything today, if you had any questions that you had questions for us as an e-board or questions as for these puppy raisers, we're here. If not, then you're welcome to sign off, or if you have any questions.
I have a question. So my internet went out for a little, so I don't know if you answered this, but if we're interested in being puppy raisers, should we email you now or wait till those, what was it, the 18th and 26th maybe?
Yes, so I think it was the 15th and 22nd page, was that right?
Something. I put it on my calendar.
It's something like that. It was the next coming Tuesdays. You can go ahead and come to these meetings. So we're gonna go like in depth into these puppy raising guidelines and stuff like that. So I think when I know the exact dates, we'll put that in an email and we'll say puppy raisers, please come to this meeting. And we'll tell you everything you need to know. If you want to do some prep reading on your free time, you're welcome to go to cci.org and read about their their information they have for puppy raising. It's a great resource and like a starting point. And then we'll just kind of go off of that between everyone's experience.
I have a question. So I wasn't here for the interest meeting. I missed that, but I still want to be a part of the club. But I was just wondering if I decide, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do puppy raising because nursing is going to be hard. But so what else, like being in the club, what else can we do to like help and be involved?
Paige or Alex, do you guys want to take that one?
Yeah, so we do a lot of fundraising, which helps both our puppy raisers and some of which we donate back to CCI as an organization itself. Fundraising and education, but more education is definitely the biggest part of our club outside of puppy raising. We find that it's very important to educate people on the difference between emotional support animals, therapy dogs, service dogs in training like we have, and then actual working legitimate service dogs. Because there are many differences, many confusion, things like that. And that's definitely the biggest part that we ask from people who aren't puppy raisers, because that's such an important thing, especially on campus, but as well as in the community. People know us on campus, but they still don't necessarily know what we do, or the differences between the different types of dogs and things like that. And I think LJ hit something. But yeah, education is definitely the biggest thing that, education and advocacy, I would say, are definitely those big things.
She's right. So let's say like you're out on campus and someone asks you, well, what clubs are you in? And you say, oh, I'm in STEP at or UMW STEP, whatever. And they go, oh, what's that? That's your perfect opportunity to be like, oh, well, let me tell you my whole spiel that I have about CCI and service dogs. Because it really gets that awareness out there about how Alex said, legitimate service dogs between emotional support dogs and stuff like that. We are also asking in the coming weeks some fundraising ideas for our puppy raisers and our club. If you're creative, if you love fundraising, if you know anything about fundraising, please send us your ideas in an email, or you can tell us now if you really have a burning idea. We really want to do fundraising, hopefully on campus, especially this semester. So if you have any ideas, let us know. We're always open to ideas.
Oh, I also wanted to ask, does it cost a lot of money to be a puppy raiser? Like, is it a big money commitment? Because I already have 2 dogs and I was thinking about it, but I didn't know like if it would be a lot more money, like food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The average, I think.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about this a couple of weeks ago because someone brought it up, and we are very lucky to be a part of our college club, specifically at our school. Someone a long time ago set up a vet that we get to use. So as long as you're close enough to use it, we get free vet care for our CCI pups as long as you say that you're with CCI, which is a huge weight off our plate. That's probably our biggest cause. We're also very lucky that at the moment for Northeast region, we have a donor that reimburses our food costs for the dogs. So we have to buy a specific food, but then we submit that receipt up to NER and they send us the check back. So those are the 2 main costs that I would say kind of help a lot, that they take that off our plate, or at least help to. But I did the math, and in the year and a half that you have the dog, you will probably spend close to $2,500 to $3,000. Some people spend more, especially schools that don't necessarily. Yeah, Simone and I both have BarkBox subscriptions for our dogs, and that's just like, it's only $30 a month, but like it adds up. But things like that, the things that you spend a lot on your dogs that are your choice to spend on them, that's where a lot of the costs go, but it still ends up being a couple $1,000s.
Is that out of your pocket, or does that count as an expense?
Sorry?
Is that out of your pocket, or can you write that off as an expense?
No, we don't get to write it off as an expense. That's out of your pocket. But that's also why we fundraise. As a club, we don't get to nearly cover a lot of that. But we definitely try and basically have starter kits for our puppies, which usually value a couple $100s. We get you a bed. We have kennels that we pass around between puppy raisers. So like my kennel that I have for Zinger was actually Estrella's before she turned in, or once she turned in, and things like that. So we do have some things as a club that kind of help reduce those initial costs, but on average, it it gets pretty pricey in that year and a half as a college student.
Yes, Alex, yes. So if you were like me or Alex or any of our puppy raisers, we love to spoil our dogs. I got Naya a bandana for every holiday. Yes, that did happen, and she wore them around campus, and it was amazing. So it's just little stuff like that that's totally optional for you. You don't need to put a bandana on your dog. You don't need to have festive collars and leashes and stuff like that. It's just kind of the main things of toys, bedding, treats, if you want to use treats such as other than your dog food, and grooming supplies and stuff like that. We really do try to provide you guys with it. Again, we're a small club. We're trying to fundraise as much as possible. But yes, considering puppy raising, you need to consider the financial part of it as well.
Another part of that is, a big part of it actually, is that we require all of our puppy raisers to have their own car on campus once they have a puppy. So that means if you're a freshman now and you don't have a car on campus, that's fine, because you're not getting a puppy till at least your sophomore year. But that is a thing that we do require. I know Danielle and I both, that was a big discussion we each had with both of our parents, and it was basically we worked during the year before we got a puppy and made sure we bought ourselves cars. I got lucky and got to buy the car off my grandparents, so it was a little bit cheaper, but it's definitely something else to consider.
Yes, because that's, say your puppy eats something that it's not supposed to and you need to go to the emergency vet in Fredericksburg. Well, you're going to need to go right there and then. You can't wait for an Uber. You can't wait for the Fred bus and stuff like that. So a car is really important. I don't know how I forgot that, but.
I do want to say one thing on that, with like writing something off. If your parents are co-raisers, it is in the puppy raiser manual that you can talk with an accountant on how to write certain expenses off. Obviously, you can't write them all off, but if you pay taxes, there is something in the manual, but you have to talk to your own accountant on how to write that volunteer work off. But again, your parents would have to be a co-raiser, which they would talk about later.
Yeah, we'll go into co-raising and stuff like that in meetings. But
just like kind of a tiny bit off topic. What's like, so if you need like a car, what's the parking situation on campus?
So you would have to buy a parking pass based on where you live. So Rebecca's living in the UMW or in Eagle, so that's for the upperclassmen, I guess you could say upperclassmen. Not if you're a sophomore or above, and you would park in the Eagle parking deck. I don't know if you've been to campus, but it's above Adventure Brewing and AT&T, I think is right there. And then if you were to live in the UMW apartments, they have their own separate parking lot for that. If you were to live in the dorm, like Alex did with Zinger last semester, they have parking next to the dorm, right? And then somewhere else.
Sometimes, depending if the freshmen who have cars take it. But that is another thing too that we'll touch on puppy raising, about where you're living on campus. I kind of got an exception. Like the school itself allows puppy raisers to live anywhere on campus. However, we don't really think it's best for our dogs to be living in those tiny dorm rooms. I got an exception because I'm an SRA or an RA. And so I have my own room, and so it's a little bit different, but we really, really prefer that everybody either lives, that is puppy raising or has a puppy, lives in Eagle Landing or the UMW apartments, because it's just, it's better for the dogs, it's healthier for them, it's more spacious, and they're a lot happier.
Oh, so I'm a commuter, like I live at home. Is that like fine as well?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
So Riley and Zeus, he was a commuter. And there you just kind of have to pick your battles. You know your dog the best if you were to puppy raise. So if you think they would be okay coming to class for X amount of time for X amount of classes, then that's great. You go ahead and bring your dog. If not, then like we said, we'll go into the depths of what co-raising is. And if you need a co-raiser, that's perfectly fine. That's half the stress, half everything. But no, it is not a problem if you are a commuter student.
I'm actually a commuter well now. And the biggest thing is making sure you can car train. Like if your dog does not do well in the car, it's not something that you can feasibly do every day, because you don't want to stress your dog out an incredible amount every single time you need to go to class. So when we first got LJ, and I mean, the drive down from New York is a huge trainer. But we worked a lot on getting him in the car and like settling in his crate. And I got lucky, he's a car napper. But I mean, I know a couple of the puppies that were driven down from New York by Jackie were really bad in the car, like crying the entire time. So it's just something, like Simone said, you need to pick your battles, like what you want to make sure you can train or put up with and figure out eventually.
Yes, I forgot that Danielle was a commuter, but if you want to talk to her more about that, she'll definitely help you. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
And of course, if you have like a lot more questions about puppy raising or details and things like that, those 2 meetings where we're talking about puppy raising will go really in depth, because puppy raising is a huge commitment, both your time, your mental health, just a lot of things. I mean, you're working with these dogs for hours every day. So it's a lot, and we'll definitely answer all your questions then as well.
And on the flip side of that, for puppy raising, we'll have, of course, general meetings for people who don't want to puppy raise, which is perfectly fine. We need y'all. We want y'all so bad to be in our club. So we'll be reaching out to you guys, again, like I said, about fundraising ideas you had about anything where the club can go, and stuff like that. Because I know y'all love hearing me talk every time. Okay, any more thoughts, concerns from anybody? Okay, so hopefully an email will be coming out soon. We're trying to plan something fun for next meeting, so it's not just boring us sitting here looking at you, you looking at us. We really want to interact with you guys and get to know you guys. I know it's hard, but we really want to. So we're excited to see you and your pets hopefully next week. And if you want your pet to be featured in our email, go to your email and submit a picture and some sentences about your dog, and it will be in our email. Benelli was on our last email, so go check that out. Okay, I will see you all next time.
Thank you.
Bye.